The pros and cons of becoming a chef. Now, if you clicked on this video, that means you're interested in cooking or becoming a chef, and trust me, we're gonna get right in that today, but let me give you a little bit of my experience. I'm an executive chef here in Silicon Valley. I got 20+ years of experience, and trust me, I'm gonna be honest, brutally honest about the pros and cons of becoming a chef. I don't want to waste your time. Let's jump right into this video. But if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on the post notifications so you get notified whenever I post a video. And also check out other videos on my page. Here's a really good video on how to build a chef resume. And I also have a bunch of other videos on my page, so go check them out. Let's get into the nitty-gritty here. You clicked on this video because you wanted to hear my personal opinion as a professionally trained chef, the pros and cons for getting into this industry. I'm gonna be completely honest. Some people might get upset, some people might not get upset, but you know what? I think it's important for the younger generation to know. So this is primarily geared if you're 16 years to 22 years, okay? About to choose a career and you wanna know if this is the right fit for you. Now, I'm gonna be honest. There's some pros and cons to become a chef. Let's start with the pros first. All chefs, we're becoming rock stars. It's absolutely amazing. With the push of social media, we have an online presence now. It wasn't like that 10 years ago. So this is a huge advantage. Chefs are becoming marketable, which before we were just hidden in the kitchen. So I think this is a very big pro that you need to take in consideration. When I was growing up, celebrity chef was kind of frowned upon, but now it is like, amazing. And the best part about it is you don't have to be on TV to be a celebrity chef. You can be on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it doesn't matter. So this is a pro because you become a brand. Next, the recognition. As you develop as a chef and you cook for people in the restaurant, you are put on this pedestal, which is amazing. And I think this is a pro. When I was working in Los Angeles at Hotel Bel Air, I had the opportunity to meet and cook for so many celebrities. And it was so awesome because when I was explaining a dish to them or having a conversation with them, they were looking at me like I was the star, and vice versa. I was looking at them like they were the star. We're put on a pedestal nowadays. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's true. And I think that's a big pro. Now, getting into the ultimate pros. We're always gonna have a job. Learning how to cook and becoming a chef is a skill set that will set you for life. People have to eat. Restaurants and food service are always gonna be around. So job security for me is the #1 thing that I held on to when I was growing up as a chef. Trained chefs who can actually run a restaurant, or if you just know how to cook professionally, you will always have a job. You might not get paid that much, but you always are gonna have a job. The last pro, and this is just recently, the last 2 years since COVID hit, I've seen a boom in private chefing and cooking. This is a pro. It's a fruitful career now. Private chefing has become so lucrative in the last 1 to 2 years, especially because COVID hit, where people are trying to bring the restaurant experience to their house, or they have a private yacht, or they have an Airbnb. They want to bring the chef to the house and they want to host a party and not have to do any of the food and beverage. Compared to what hotel chefs make, restaurant chefs make, or an executive chef, chef de cuisine, whatever the case may be, this is more lucrative nowadays. And I think that's a pro. It wasn't there before. Another pro is you're always able to be creative. You never stop learning. Sometimes when you're working for somebody or a restaurant group, you have to play with inside that box. But now with the advances of social media, you can get creative by posting on social media. You can create whatever you want, okay? And it's amazing, and you're always learning. I have 20+ years of experience and I'm still learning. There's so many different cuisines. There is so many different techniques. And listen, it is constantly learning how to make bread, how to make pizza dough, sharpening your skills, honing your skills, I should say. There's so much to learn out there. The possibilities are endless, and I feel like I'm always learning something new. I think that's great. Now we're gonna get into the cons. To get right into it, getting experience is gonna take the life out of you. If you want to become a chef, you need to go through training. I will be honest, culinary school is not worth it to me. I made a video on that. Check it out right here, Culinary School 2022. Can culinary school help you? Yes, it will, but guess what? It will also fill you with debt as well. If it's not a tech school, if you're not in the military or your parents aren't paying for it. But I made that in this video, go check it out. You can get into that and make the choice from there. To get the experience, remember the restaurant business is cutthroat. You have to sacrifice almost everything to gain the experience. Personal life, forget about it. Holidays, weekends, nights, You have to work through all of this. And I did it for years. I wouldn't recommend it for years, but I literally gave up vacations, holidays, nights, weekends for a better part of my 20s in order to gain experience to become a chef. I pretended like I was a sponge, and I recommend the same thing. But that is a huge con. I don't care what industry you're in, you're gonna have to sacrifice something. It's very difficult to sacrifice that when you're a little bit older down the road, but I would say if you're from 18 to 24, you need to take the risk, you need to take the chances, you need to sacrifice the time and energy to get the experience. That leads into my next con, low pay to start. I don't care who you are, I don't care what culinary school you went to, when you are just starting out in the restaurant business, you start at the bottom. Okay, maybe now it's a little different, but guaranteed, if you have no experience, you're gonna start at the bottom whether you like it or not. Now, I hate to say it, but that's usually a minimum wage paying job. So my recommendation, because this sucks, is to work your hardest so you can get promoted and move on. And that leads me into my next thing, long hours. Grueling, hard, long hours, and very active. It takes the life out of you. Sometimes I remember cooking all day, literally breakfast, lunch, dinner, all day. So this is very important. If you are not an active person or you need breaks, you might want to consider, because you're going to be standing on your feet for hours on end, okay? And the kitchen is not a safe place, okay? It is actually a very dangerous place. There is fryer oil, there's boiling water, there's sharp knives, it's fast, it's crazy. It is a con. You're not going to be able to go and sit down for half an hour or 15 minutes. No, you might have your scheduled breaks, but it's not like where you can rest and relax. To the time that service starts, to the time service ends, you are hustling, okay? So I think that's really important to take in consideration, all right? It is a very active job. I saved the best for last, and as a chef, or when you're becoming a chef and you are starting out as a cook, you are constantly criticized, okay? You are constantly managed, you're constantly micromanaged, so you have got to be okay with taking feedback, constructive criticism, or just criticism straight away. So if you are soft, listen, you're gonna get beat up in this industry. It literally is cutthroat, and you're gonna get criticized. Even when you become a chef and you are cooking for guests, the fact of the matter is some guests are just never happy. And it's really not about the food, it's about the experience. So I think what's really important is you need to be tough as nails, okay? And this is a con. Nobody's gonna hold your hand through this. This job is physically, mentally demanding, and it is constant criticism. Nowadays, I think it's a little bit different. I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I used to be very egotistical. I would ask a couple cooks, how was I back in the day? I would definitely be blushing, let's put it that way. But I've changed the way I've managed, and I've changed the way I became a leader. But you know, not all chefs are like that, and not all managers are like that. So just understand that one of the cons in this industry is being criticized. Everything that you do is going to get looked at, and you may be looked down upon. So if you don't have tough skin, I highly recommend that you consider that part. You're gonna put your heart and soul into something, and sometimes it's just not good enough. And you feel like the bottom of your shoe, and just understand that it's just business. Even when I was a young cook, I wore my feelings on my sleeve, and I just couldn't wrap my head around if I worked 14 hours a day and the chef didn't praise me or give me good feedback for the day that I just worked. It didn't make sense to me. But as I moved along in my career, I started to understand it only gets worse when you become a chef. You create menu items, some people might not like them, some people do like them, and ultimately you have to have thick skin. And now I know that was a little bit of a rant, but bear with me. It's really important to tell the younger generation of chef, it's not that easy to become a chef. There is levels that you need to go to. Now, I will argue in the fact of COVID, there are a lot of restaurants that are really short-staffed. If you want to become a chef, right now is the time. They are promoting line cooks to sous chefs to chef de cuisines to executive chefs. So here's another con, but it's just a notable mention. So basically you start here, this is entry level. So it goes prep cook or line cook, then it goes chef tournant or junior sous chef, then sous chef, then executive sous chef or chef de cuisine, and then executive chef. To get to these different levels, it takes a span of years. There's not a chance that you would come out of culinary school or you're 18 years old and you start line cooking that within a couple of years you would be a sous chef, a good sous chef. What I recommend is a 5-year plan. You can amplify that. Like if you're a rock star cook, you can jump from a few places and get promoted, but just as a summary, it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3 to become straight from cook to chef, okay? So that is just a notable mention, but it takes years, okay, to get to that level and be trained properly. And last but not least, I wanna leave you with a couple pro tips to get started in your culinary career, a couple things to hold on to. You're gonna be a sponge for the next 3 to 5 years of your life. And I think what's really important is you set the standard for yourself. There's 2 things that I try to tell everybody. Have a positive attitude, number 1. Number 2, you need to have a commitment to good quality ingredients, okay? Ask the questions, make sure, because when you become a chef and you were taught to use lettuce that's wilted, this is a problem. And I can't stress enough, you need to have a quality of ingredients, okay? You need to know the difference between good and bad. And I think that's really important. You can learn this on your own, but trust me when I tell you, there's a lot of restaurants that are not getting quality ingredients. They try to save money and they are buying garbage. You don't wanna work in those restaurants, okay? Next, you need to have discipline. Discipline comes with being a chef. Discipline, knowing what's right and what's wrong is very important, but also the discipline of showing up to work on time, being clean groomed, being well-mannered, having a good attitude. This is the discipline I'm talking about. So you have to take care of your own self, mentally and physically, to be able to be disciplined in the kitchen. Taking care of yourself, nobody else is gonna be there for you. So I think discipline is extremely important in the kitchen. Lastly, you need to develop your palate. Taste everything. Go to different restaurants that are authentic, restaurants that are reputable. Start developing your palate. When I was a young cook, my girlfriend and I, wife now, we saved up about $5K, right? Took everything we had. We went to New York and DC and we ate at every 3 Michelin star restaurant, 2 Michelin star restaurant we could possibly. I mean, until I was sick. But it gave me the experience of a lifetime. And it developed my palate, because then when the server would bring out lobster, I'm like, okay, this is the standard. This is a standard of excellence. This is how this lobster is served. When I went back to where I was working, I'd be like, okay, well, I've tasted lobster. I know what it's supposed to taste like. This is important. So start developing your palate. Acid, salt, sugar, heat, spice. This is very important so you know what you're tasting as you start developing your career. Okay, so just remember, this is a short, quick fire video. Some of these things people might not agree with, but I would love to hear your comments down below. I'm not reading from a script or anything. I'm just freestyling and I have some notes. These are my opinions, my personal experience that I am just sharing with you guys. And I think what's really important is we could elaborate further. I'd love to hear your experience. I'd love to hear what you have to say. So go down in the comments below, leave me your questions, and I might make a video out of it. That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see y'all next time.